This video will explain how you can draw demand and supply curves using information from equations. The equations that we are going to use are quantity demanded equals 100 minus 6p and quantity supplied equals 28 plus 3p. Let's first draw the demand curve. To determine where the demand curve will cut the y-axis, this will be everywhere where quantity is equal to 0, because on the vertical axis, the y-axis, quantity is equal to 0. So we're going to assume that quantity demanded is equal to 0. That is our equation for the demand curve. Quantity demanded equals 100 minus 6p. We're going to replace the quantity demanded with 0. Thus 0 is equal to 100 minus 6p. Therefore, minus 100 is equal to minus 6p. P is equal to minus 100 divided by minus 6. Therefore, P is equal to 16,67. Thus, the demand curve will cross the y-axis where P is equal to 16,67. To determine where the demand curve will cut the x-axis, that will be on the horizontal axis everywhere where prices are equal to 0. So assume the price is equal to 0 to find where the demand curve will cross the horizontal axis. The equation is the same. Quantity demanded equals 100 by minus 6p. We're going to replace the p with 0. Thus quantity demanded is equal to 100 minus 6 times 0. Thus quantity demanded is equal to 100 minus 0, which is quantity demanded equals 100. Thus the demand curve will cross the x-axis where quantity demanded is equal to 100. Now we draw the demand curve. First we draw the axis. The vertical axis we call P, prices, and on the horizontal axis we show quantity. Now we find the point on the demand curve where quantity is equal to 0, and that was when the price is equal to 16.67. And then we find the point on the demand curve where the price is equal to 0, and that was where quantity is equal to 100. We draw the demand curve by joining these 2 points. That is our demand curve. Now we're going to draw the supply curve. To determine where the supply curve will cut the y-axis, once again, it will be where quantity supplied is equal to 0. The equation for the supply curve is QS equals 28 plus 3P. Now we're going to replace the QS with 0. Therefore, 0 is equal to 28 plus 3P. Minus 28 is equal to 3P. Therefore, P is equal to minus 28 divided by 3, which gives you minus 9,3. Thus, the supply curve will cross the y-axis where P is equal to minus 9,3. Note that this will be below the 0. In other words, below the horizontal axis, because it is a negative value. Now we want to determine where the supply curve will cut the x-axis. Now that will be where prices are equal to 0. The equation for the supply curve, QS equals 28 plus 3P. Now we replace the P with 0. Thus quantity supplied is equal to 28 plus 3 times 0. Quantity supplied is therefore equal to 28 plus 0. Quantity supplied is equal to 28 when prices are 0. Thus the supply curve will cross the x-axis where quantity supply is equal to 28. There we have our axis. We want to draw the supply curve. First we find the point where quantity is equal to 0 and the price is equal to minus 9,3. Remember we said it is below the horizontal axis because it is less than 0. Now we find the point where P is equal to 0 and Q is equal to 28 on the horizontal axis. Now we connect the 2 points of the supply curve and there we have our supply curve. Now we show both the demand and supply curves on the same diagram. There we add the demand curve that we previously drew. Where the demand and supply cross is the equilibrium position. You can use the other set of slides to see how the equilibrium quantity and prices are determined using equations. At equilibrium, the price will be equal to 8 and the quantity will be equal to 52. That is the point where the quantity demanded equals quantity supplied, and it will take place when the price level is